Redditors who've wanna spend a day with so and so celebrity contest. How was it? I met Billy Corgan after the last show he had in Sydney, Oceania album, back in 2012. We went into a little side room full of about 20 or so people and were pulled out into the hall for a meet and greet, photos etc. His bodyguard came out and informed us that he was feeling a bit sick and didn't want people to hug him. He came out, set his phone down on the ground and went through one by one saying hello, making small talk and signing something. I brought out a photo I took at one of his shows to have him sign and he asked me where I got the photo and complimented it and signed my husband's Zero t-shirt. In the photo he took with both of us, he seemed in a way to hunch down. I'm quite short for my photo, and for my husband's photo, he is 6. He was standing very clearly as straight as possible, since Billy is quite tall. Overall, he seemed friendly but very shy. He seemed as nervous to be meeting us as we were him. Haha. My mum ended up waiting for a delayed flight with Orlando Bloom and Miranda Kerr. Apparently he's super sweet and insisted on helping my mum with her bags etc. Michelle Phan, the YouTube makeup guru. She felt kind of fake, like giving empty compliments. She became passive aggressive at one point. Sad to say, but I stopped watching because she started seeming really fake. Not that she uploads very often anymore anyway. I think the celebrity got to her, which is sad because she seemed so sweet back in the day with her lower quality videos. A lot of YouTube gurus are like that, but in their defense they are younger and that much exposure can really mess with your sense of reality. When working at a flagship car phone warehouse, for those who don't know, it's a popular mobile phone shop. As a manager we had an ongoing sponsorship with the X Factor and regularly had contestants in to sing and sign autographs etc. Some were awesome and laid back, One Direction, Little Mix, Amelia Lily, and some were absolute C, Matt Cardle, Rebecca Ferguson. One time we had Pixie Lott come in. I flirted my butt off with her, she's so sexy in person, and even gave her my number on a bit of paper. Still waiting for her to call me. It's been nearly 10 years so I ain't holding my breath. One time met Jason Segel, the most awesome celeb I've met. Made crazy funny jokes, took pictures with everyone, gave out autographs. He wasn't buying a gift for someone who had helped him on set for a film he was working on, and identified that we work on commission. Proceeded to ask me what ways he could help me get the most amount of commission out of him. So he ended up buying insurance, a ton of accessories, some of which were for a phone he didn't have, and still gave me a £50 tip on top. Truly amazing dude. On a slightly sour note, because I was in awe when she came in and absolutely love her music, we once had Amy Winehouse come in. The store was quite busy due to an Apple iPhone recently launching, but she immediately requested that we close the store for just her and her entourage so she could make a decision on her and her entourage's phones in a calm and less stressful manner. I told her we couldn't do that and proceeded to get a lecture about who she was, what she's done for music and how I should value her importance. I reiterated I wasn't going to close the store for her, and if she wanted to, she could come back at closing time and I would keep the store open for her and her entourage then. She said she would, so I waited for up to an hour after we had closed. She didn't show up. I can answer this one. So I won one with Woody Harrelson. The whole day consisted of talking about his new movie Rampart. I literally almost never thought of Woody Harrelson, and then I had a sex dream about him. Didn't win a contest or anything and wasn't me, blew it. I'm from the States and my grandpa lived and worked in England for a while when he was around my age, 24, I'm guessing. Well, he was in a bar and met BB King and had a beer with him. My dad and his best friend met Bill Engvall and his wife at a casino bar in Vegas and had dinner with them. I believe him and his best friend were both drunk as well. My grandma grew up with Don Johnson, James Crockett on Miami Vice. I've met a few celebrities, but it was more at concerts where they are signing stuff, book signings, so not very personal. This thread is pretty old so this will likely get buried, but a friend of mine won a ticket to the after party of the Serenity premiere in London. She only had the one ticket and didn't want to go without her boyfriend, so she gave it to me. For the first couple of hours it was a complete washout. The celebs were in a private area, and the other attendees of the party, apart from the other competition winners, were no fun. Anyway, at some point the celebs who weren't up for a party left, and the rest came out of their little area and started to mingle. This included Joss Whedon and Nathan Fillion, who both proceeded to get drunk as frick. It was hilarious. We all danced like nutters. I had a good conversation with Joss at the bar about the plans for his upcoming Spike TV series, which never happened. Also got a sweaty hug. He was basically exactly how you imagine Joss Whedon would be in person. Nathan Fillion was also very funny, had a long chat with me and a bunch of other people, asked me a ton about myself, family, what I did for a living, etc. Just all round really nice, funny guy. Tony Head was also there. Guy was in butthole. This isn't true. He wasn't drinking because he was in a play at the time, but again we had about a half an hour chat and he was gracious and very friendly, even given that my opening conversational gambit was to shake him by the hand and tell him that I just wanted him to know he was a god among men. So yeah, that's my story. I met a UFC fighter, Melvin Gillard, at a friend's party in Houston. My friend runs a car repair shop and him and Melvin hit it off. Because, you know, it never hurts to know a good mechanic. He was an extremely relaxed guy, very low-key, not aggressive or filled with testosterone rage like maybe you'd picture a UFC fighter. I talked with him about some of his fights I'd seen to get his perspective, and we had a really great conversation about MMA. And then he saw that the PS3 and started playing God of War. Living in Moscow, I've met several Russian celebrities that I didn't know were celebrities until someone told me. I think a lot of famous people crave normal interactions with people who don't put them on a pedestal. The divas are the exception, rather than the rule. Met Mark Cuban. This was several years ago when I stupidly and ignorantly were into the Kardashians. He said they weren't all that. He seemed really cool and down to earth. Nice guy. Didn't win anything, but the night before I left for freshman year of college I was up late and nervous, so I watched a little TV. The only thing that held my attention was a VH1 mini doc about Megadeth. The fact that a few of them were rejected by Metallica stood out to me. The following day my parents and I are driving down the turnpike, stop at a rest area, and hop out. Parked right outside of the rest stop is Megadeth's bus. Gigantic bus, Megadeth's logo, etc. Then the band comes walking out of the rest stop. I pause for a moment because these things never happen, and for some reason I feel like it's a sign that college is going to be okay. One of them saw me looking, so I threw up the horns and said, "Metallica sucks." They all turned around, threw the horns, and immediately got on the bus. College was fine. 7/10 would recommend. Not exactly a day thing, but I was on holiday in the States and I went to WWE Raw and met Sheamus when he was champ at the hotel after the show. He's surrounded by fans signing autographs, etc. And I said, "I saw you at local show in Ireland years ago," and he gets all excited and we talked for about an hour. Very cool guy and was asking me about my life as much as I asked about his and why I was over in the States, and seemed genuinely interested. Didn't win a contest, but I once got the opportunity to meet Mick Thomson from Slipknot at a meet and greet. He's a big, intimidating looking guy, around 6 feet 5 inches. He's super relaxed, though. He signed my copy of All Hope Is Gone, their newest album at the time. This was in 2009, and we took a picture and chatted about guitars for a few minutes. From what I've been told, everyone else in the band is also very nice. Not necessarily won this opportunity, but I'm sure I'm not the first person who purchased merchandise at a midnight screening of The Room to get a chance to meet the infamous Tommy Wiseau. A couple years ago, my friends, my girlfriend and I all managed to get tickets to the showing where he would be there in person. As soon as you walked in, at least 2 people were yelling at you to either buy something or basically stay the heck away. If you chose to buy some merch, you had one of Tommy's people sell you a t-shirt or the Rumust or his line of boxer briefs. To my shame, I bought a pair. Finally, after you bought your stuff, you waited until it was your turn to have your stuff signed and get a picture with Tommy. To be fair, it was a very hot summer night in the middle of July, but when it came to our group, we were greeted by this loud, annoyed man yelling at us and sweating like crazy. He had on his signature 2 belts, dress suit vest, combat boots, torn up jeans, and sunglasses. Trying to explain to him how to spell your name was like pulling teeth. My name is not ramen, But looking at my Wiseau underwear and room t-shirt, you wouldn't know. And then came the picture. He tried to get all the guys together first so then, afterwards, he could take a picture with just the ladies. As me and my best friend stood on either side, he would mutter lines like "you're tearing me apart" or "I would do anything for my girl." But it wasn't like he was doing it for the crowd. Honestly, if you weren't paying attention to him, you wouldn't have noticed. It was like an action figure who keeps saying its catchphrases even though you aren't pressing the button. You just know one day it's gonna run out of battery. It's hard to explain what I felt. Here was a man who I had spent numerous hours laughing at and reading about. I mocked his passion project like so many others had. And when I finally got to meet him, it was as if all of this had really put him through the ringer. Yes, he is easy to laugh at, but it seems like all this has taken something out of him. For lack of better words, it's tearing him apart. And his neighbor co-stars were douchebags. Bit late to this party but still. Not me but my friend's parents. They were on holiday in New York absolutely loving life and they get into this elevator to come down about 20 floors or something and there's this big black dude in there. So they jump in and my friend's dad will literally talk to anybody. So this guy says, "Hey, you guys on holiday?" I take it judging by their very British accent I imagine. So they get into a big conversation about being from Manchester and then my friend's dad chews his ear off about working as a gas engineer for Eon over in England and yada yada. So he asks what he does to which he responds that he's a professional rapper. So he says, "Alright, cool, what's your name? Because my daughter may have heard you." To which he replies, "Jay-Z." Obviously they had no idea who he was but my friend freaked out when they rang her a few minutes afterwards. Got to meet Drew Barrymore as part of her promotions for Whip It, the roller derby movie. She was on a national tour and I got to help arrange things with my roller derby team for a local screening and a select group of us to sing the 7th inning stretch at Wrigley Field with her. One teammate had been Kristen Wiig's body double in the film too. After the film screening we were ushered out a secret back exit from the movie theater to a parking lot where we stood in a circle and chatted with Drew while being filmed. She is very sweet and very small. She is like a human smile emoji. We then were put into large black SUVs with livery plates. Oh, this is who uses those cars. We then sped to Wrigley Field, where we took another back route up to a skybox fully catered with Chicago-style hot dogs and beer, yes. And Drew came in and hung with us again. She admitted she didn't know all the lyrics to take me out to the ball game. So we all practiced it a few times together, and one of us taught her the extra Chicago Cubs version of it. Very fun and surreal. Then we all, 7 of us plus Drew, were led to the press box to stand right at the front where the crowd can see you. Honestly, to me this was the coolest part and I am not a baseball fan. And the announcer introduced her and us. We were packed in there like sardines and sang the song and then promptly left so the media could actually see the game again. We said goodbye to Drew somewhere along the way and the rest of us were free to eat, drink, and enjoy the remainder of the game from the skybox. I have no idea how the Cubs did that day, but it was 2009 and they probably lost. Not me, but my dad got to meet Jimmy Savile when he was a kid and was invited back to meet Savile privately. Luckily, my dad couldn't stay and had to go home. My dad probably dodged a bullet on that one. I met the dogs that played Summer and Grey Wind from Game of Thrones a few months ago. They are just some family's dogs in Belfast, Ireland. My wife and I took a tour of Game of Thrones filming sites and one of the stops was at a beer garden where the dogs' owners brought them in to meet everyone. We got to take pictures with both of them. Grey Wind licked my face and Summer let my wife rub his belly. Didn't win a contest, but met a lot of DJs while working at a festival. Martin Garrix is an incredible dude. Greets, hugs, shakes hands, talks to you. It's like you've been friends with him for 10 years. Steve Aoki looked a bit tired, but is a very nice and friendly person despite that. Actually, all of them were really chill. Netsky even hung out with us to talk a bit. Don Diablo is an amazing dude. He invited everyone who was at his set onto the stage and Snapchatted us all when he came to our workplace behind the scenes. And later in the night I got to hang out with Pep and Rash who shoved Grey Goose in my face until I was totaled and then they took me backstage to Don Diablo's set. I met Teller, as in Pennant, at a show they did a while ago. I waved hi. He held up a muffin and said most important meal of the day. Since he spoke to me, I can only assume Penn had him killed and summarily replaced. I once entered a competition, with a though that I was never going to win, to meet the author Garth Nix. I surprisingly won, but because I came from a poor family we couldn't afford for me to go all the way out to London to meet him. To this day I always think back on it and regret so much not being able to meet him. Back in 1999 I got a chance to go through the Make-A-Wish Foundation to meet Stone Cold Steve Austin, which to 7-year-old me was a big freaking deal. Anyway, me and my family drove all the way from South Alabama to Greensboro, NC, I believe cause my mom refused to fly, and got to hang out backstage with him before the show. The problem was I was so scared starstruck that I refused to talk, but he was really awesome and signed a t-shirt and took pics with me and my mom. I believe I also got pics with The Godfather and Gang Rule, but I can't really remember. Obligatory didn't win a contest, but I met Eddie Vedder backstage at a festival this summer. Super nice guy. We had a photo taken with him and then chatted with him for a bit. Also not a contest, but a random happenstance meeting. In college, I was in a club for paramedic students and we were holding a big event and had to buy burgers to cook for about 200 people. We were at Costco and had filled 3 of their gigantic carts with food stuff. We wanted someone to take our picture with these 3 overflowing carts. I know, not that exciting for most people, but as a college student any large quantity of food that isn't a pallet of ramen is impressive. Anyway, we see these 2 super sexy dudes shopping, and so we decide we walk over with our carts and say, hey, could you do us a favor, to which the smaller, cuter guy replies, sure, where's your camera, in a sexy English accent. And we are flabbergasted. How does this guy know we want him to take our picture? So we go on to explain we want just a photo of us with our carts. The guys then look confused, but they oblige and snap a photo of us plus carts with my phone. We say thanks and go on our merry way. Later, in the checkout lines, we spot the hotties again. Of course we pick their line, and we start chatting with them, saying we're paramedic students, we're holding a big paramedic party for school, etc. We ask what they do, and they say they are actors filming for the movie Thor. We ask who they play, and the tall muscular cutie says he is playing a frost giant. Cool. Frost giant then points to smaller cutie, and says this guy plays Loki. We kept chatting. They were super friendly, and it was one of the better 20 minutes I've spent in the checkout line at Costco, and that's how I met Tom Hiddleston and Luke Massey, TL.Dr. Tom Hiddleston shops at Costco, and is a super nice bloke. Obligatory, I didn't win a contest, but our small sleepy town seems to attract a lot of celebrities to live here. Mostly athletes, but also some actors. One from Star Wars and his girlfriend, and musicians, depending if you believe the rumors. He's never actually been seen here, but it's widely assumed to be at his house. Anyhow, the Star Wars actor would frequently come into the grocery store where I worked. He was always really nice and friendly. One time even commented on a co-worker's new glasses. I've also met a fair number of the athletes. I work at a golf course owned by several retired NHL players. They often come out to play or have their hockey buddies out to play. Also like younger up and coming NHL players. The hockey players and their friends are actually some of the nicest, most courteous golfers I've dealt with. Never hit on me like other gross old men do. Final celebrity experience. I had a friend whose mom was an Olympian. Dad was an NHL player, sister played national women's rugby, and brother was also an NHL player. I went to his house for a party once, and his parents were super nice. They fed us a ton. We got to play on their beach volleyball court, which the rest of the family actually made themselves for Mother's Day for the mom. We got to hang out in the basement where all the dad's old jerseys and stuff were. Also some cool gaming consoles. Overall a really lovely family. My friend had a great sense of humor and was always very kind to everyone. Assuming he learned that from his parents and older siblings. Whoa, hockey players that play golf. Someone could make a good movie about such an unusual thing. Not me, but my sister, who didn't even win a contest, got to spend a day with S Club 7 back when they were huge. My mum used to do the books for an independent restaurant that was set to be the meeting point for the contest winner and S Club 7. She brought my sister to work with her that day as a surprise. The contest winner didn't speak any English, so S Club 7 just chilled with my sister most of the day. She went in their limo and flirted with Bradley the whole time. I kind of feel bad for the contest winner as they literally just say they're not saying anything the whole time. My wife got to hang out with Viggo Mortensen for a few days once. Her best friend from childhood is somehow related to him. Her friend took my wife to the friend's grandmother's house in upstate New York. They partied it up for a few days. This was back before Lord of the Rings was released. She tells me she met this really cool artist guy who was supposed to be in some new movie coming out, but she couldn't remember his name. Just that it was somewhat strange and she thought she recognized him from some movies. Apparently an extremely cool guy who just likes to relax. Also, according to the friend, he used to play with the family kids during the summer, take them out to an island, go canoeing, go on ripe swings, and otherwise just have a blast. 10/10, would chill with him if I could. Oh, and a few years ago, a friend of hers knows the guys from New Kids on the Block. Wife's favorite member was Joey. Have a video of Joey wishing her a happy birthday on a short video clip. My cousin had a lunch with Ron Howard. He had a great time with him too. Said they talked about his movie projects and what he wanted to do. They talked about his time on Happy Days and other shows. He was with him for over 3 hours and said it was just awesome. Won a charity auction on eBay to get to hang out with the Dropkick Murphys over St. Patrick's Day weekend. It was for 2 people to go to all 4 weekend concerts, a breakfast at a bar and a Bruins hockey game. I took 3 people planning on taking a different person to each of the things and the other 2 could just hang out in Boston. First night was given 2 all-access laminates and taken backstage to meet the band. They were all amazing and even though I was super nervous they did their best to make us feel at home, insisting we help ourselves to food and alcohol backstage. When I told Ken about my plan to bring a different friend to each thing, he said no need to do that and told their manager to bring me 2 more laminates so that all 4 of us could come to the shows. My friends and I had the time of our lives that weekend. From drinking more of their beer than they did, I think, to us all pilling in Ken's car with his family after the hockey game and him giving us a ride to our hotel. They are just about the best, most down-to-earth people you could ever hope to meet. My youngest brother-in-law, he's 12, is a Make-A-Wish kid. His wish was to go see the Detroit Lions play and meet his favorite player, Ndamukong Suh. Suh has been his favorite player since he played on our college team. Anyway, so they go to the stadium, get the full tour, meet some players and the mascot, etc. Then they meet Suh. I know he gets a lot of crap on the field, but when my Bill and Suh met, there was an instant connection. Suh asked if they were going to watch the game. When they said where their seats were, Suh offered for them to go watch from his box with his family instead. They of course, graciously accepted, and got to meet his whole family. That day though, Suh became part of our family. My Bill and Suh exchanged phone numbers, and they text often, at least back and forth before every game, which Bill watches religiously, even though he doesn't like the Dolphins as much. When my Bill turned 10, we had a huge party and fundraiser. Bill has a rare condition. The kids were outside playing catch, and a car pulls up. Quietly, Suh, his manager, and his bodyguard came out. No fanfare, no media. It was clear he came for my Bill and him alone. We took some pictures, and then they played catch for hours. TLDR. Say what you want about Suh, he is a gentle giant in my eyes and heart. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.